All right. Hello, hello. Can everybody hear me? So sorry about the late start. My microphone was not working for some reason. Can everyone hear me? Let me know. We will begin. Okay, you guys can hear me. All righty. Awesome and amazing. Okay. So sorry about that, guys. Thank you so much for letting me know. Thank you so much. Okay, so without further ado, it is a Monday and we are here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another week of our ICD 10 CM Guideline Mastery session. As always, I am Miss Haley. I'm going to be your lead instructor for tonight's class. I'm so excited to welcome everyone to our Monday night class. This is actually our week 8. I cannot believe I'm already saying this. So we are ending our session this week, and then we are going to pick back up in 2 weeks, and then we're going to start right back with week 1 and do the same material over again. So if this is your first time here, we still have some classes for you. We're just in week 8. Time is just flying by. So I would also like to welcome my team, Miss Olga and Miss Vina. Amazing, amazing to have you guys as well. They are going to be in the chat and they are going to be helping you guys out, encouraging everyone, answering questions, just being awesome. And so, since we are in week 8 today, we are going to be going over and reviewing some signs, symptoms, some injuries, external cases, or external causes rather, and encounters. So, if you're looking at your ICD-10-CM guideline book or your MCG manual, we are going to be focusing on specifically chapters 18 through 21. So definitely make sure to have that ICD-10-CM book as well as your MCG handy if you can, because we are going to be referencing those quite often. And we're also going to be sticking with the same flow as last class. So we're going to be doing a Jeopardy game as well as a Quizlet game to test our coding guideline mastery skills. So, and again, I'll quickly go over those Jeopardy questions and show our guideline references so we can always use this video as a tool in the future. So, without further ado, I'll here. Okay. Someone said they heard some echoes, so I put myself on mute and unmuted just for a second. All right. So I'm going to go over our copyright really quick and then we will get started. All right. I don't know what is with the technology today. Okay. So, ICD-10-CM Copyright 2026, American Medical Association, all rights reserved. Fee schedules, value units, conversion factors, and or related components are not assigned by the AMA, are not part of CPT or ICD-10, and the AMA is not recommending their use. The AMA does not directly or indirectly practice medicine or dispense medical services. The AMA assumes no liability for data contained or not contained. ICD-10-CM is a registered trademark of AAPC. AAPC content found within this presentation is copyright of AAPC, Keyword Concept, FTR, Chun, AMCI Fab 7, AMCI ICD-10, Flip, Tab, and MCG are trademarks of AMCI. The credentials CPC, CRC, COC, CPMA, CPB, CPPM, CPCO are owned by AAPC. AMCI does not own the rights to these credentials. The credentials CCA, CCS, CCS-P, RHIA, RHAT are owned by AHEMA. AMCI does not own the rights to these credentials. Whew. All right. So without further ado, we are going to warm up. I'm going to go ahead and grab our game really quick. And again, if this is your first time being here, I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick and transfer over to the game. So if this is your first time here, we do a Jeopardy game. So it's going to be all true or false, and it is all going to be taken directly word from word from the MCG manual. And so after this, I will go over all of the guidelines that I used, and they're all going to be again from chapters 18 through 21. So let me share my screen. All right. So here are today's categories. So I split them up into three categories. So our first category is going to be chapter 18 and 19. So our symptoms, signs, and abnormal findings not elsewhere classified, specifically your R00 through R99. And then your chapter 19 is going to be injury, poisoning, and certain other consequences of external causes. So this is going to be S00 through T88. And then we're also going to have our chapter 20, which is going to be our external causes of morbidity. So these are going to be our V00 through through V99. And then we're also going to have our chapter 21, so factors influencing health status in contact with health services. So again, this is going to be our Z00 through our Z99. These are going to be all of our random codes. So without further ado, let's start off with a 100 from chapter 18 and 19 so we can warm up. And again, always just put your answer in the chat. We love a participation and we will go over them afterwards. Okay, so first question of the night. True or false? If a patient has a burn of the same site or side, but has a different degree of burn, code to the highest degree recorded. True or false? I'll give you guys a few seconds to put those answers in the chat, and good luck. All right, I'm getting an outstanding true, which is amazing because it is indeed true. Start to the session. So great start to the warm up. All right, let's move on to a 200 from chapter 20. Again, true or false. External cause codes can never be first listed or principal diagnosis. What are we thinking? Let me know in the chat. All right. Again, I'm getting some outstanding participation in the chat. Great job. So I'm getting, yes, those external cause codes are never going to be a first listed. They're never going to be a principal diagnosis. They're always going to be second or after that. So great job. Let's move on. Let's do a 400 since you guys are killing it. 400 from chapter 21. Okay. True or false? Do not use a status code if a diagnosis code already includes the status information. True or false? Let me know in the chat and good luck. Let's take a look. Everyone is doing true, so let's see. Ones. I don't mean to be doing that, but yes, if there's already, we don't need to have all those extra codes. So if it's already included, the status information in the diagnosis, there's no need to add another code. So that would make this one true. And we are going to move on. Let's do a 400 going back to chapter 18 and 19. Again, true or false, signs and symptoms integral to a definitive diagnosis should always be coded. True or false? What do we think? All right, everyone seems to be putting false. And indeed, yes, this one is going to be 100% false. So as you guys know, because everyone was putting false in there, you do not, so the signs and symptoms integral to a definitive diagnosis should not be coded because, again, that is just extra unnecessary coding. So you would just code the diagnosis itself. It's unnecessary to also put in those extra signs and symptoms. Okay, so oh, oh no, why did it do that? Oh no, why did it exit our thing? Okay, well, anyways, okay. We'll just have to keep track of the ones that we did. Okay, so chapter 20, external causes of morbidity. Just did that one. True. Okay, let's do a 300. Okay, true or false? If the intent, so accident, self-harm, assault of the injury or condition is unknown or unspecified, code as an accident. So if the intent is unknown or unspecified, are we coding it as an accident? True or false? What do you guys think? All right. I'm getting some trues, so let's see. And indeed, it is true. So yes, if the intent of the injury is unknown, code as an accident. And again, if you have any questions about this specific guideline, I'm going to reference the one that I took out of the MCG manual at the end. So have no fear, and practice makes perfect. So no worries at all. We're going to move on. Let's do a chapter 21, 300. Okay. True or false? Z23 is the appropriate code for encounters for vaccinations and inoculations. So again, this is going to be specifically from chapter 21, specifically category Z23. What do we think? True or false? getting an outstanding number of trues. So let's check it out. What do we think? It is going to be true. So yes, this is the appropriate code you would use for all your vaccinations and all your inoculations. So great job. Again, I'm just clicking on all the true ones. I don't know what's going on. All right, let's do a 200 from chapter 18 and 19. Again, true or false. Code all superficial injuries associated with a more severe injury. How are we going to code this one, guys? True or false? Let me know. Okay, I'm getting again an outstanding amount of falses. So let's just verify. Yes, this one is indeed going to be false. So it's kind of like we were going over with the signs and symptoms. So you are not going to code any superficial injuries associated with the more severe injury. You always want to code the more severe or the highest level. That's going to be the most important. So, yes, you would not code any superficial injuries associated with a more severe injury. So, this would make this false. Everyone caught that one. So, outstanding. No surprise there. Why does it keep doing that? I'm going to go crazy. We're really going to have to keep track of the ones that we've done. I promise I will try. Again, this just has a mind of its own today. Oh, oh, I got that wrong. Okay, let's go back to chapter 21. We just did that. Oh my goodness. So sorry, guys. Okay. Personal history codes indicate a past condition that's not resolved and needs monitoring. So when it comes to personal history codes, what are we thinking, guys? Is this one going to be true or false? All right. It seems like computer issues are just across the board today. Oh no. Okay, so yes, I'm getting a lot of falses, and that would be correct. This one is going to be false. So yes, personal history codes indicate a past condition that is resolved but may reoccur and does need monitoring. So that's what would make this one false. So if you got that right, which I'm pretty sure every single person did, outstanding. You guys are killing this warm up. All right, I hope I don't click on the same. Let's do a 400 going back to chapter 18 and 19. Oh, we already did this one. Why is this happening? This one does have a mind of its own today, this game. Okay. We just did that one. Okay. True or false? If multiple coma scores are captured within the first 24 hours after admission, assign only the score at the time of admission. So, what do we think about this one? I know this is a lot, so I'll let you guys read through it again if you need to, and let me know in the chat. Okay, I'm getting a lot of trues. Let's check it out. So, yes, this one is going to be true. So, yes, if multiple coma scores are captured within the first 24 hours, you are going to only assign the score at the time of admission. And again, I will let everyone know what specific guideline that this was in so we can look this over if we need some more practice. No worries at all. Okay, hopefully I don't click on a duplicate that we've already done. All right, true or false? External causes of morbidity are not diagnoses. They are codes used to describe the circumstances leading and or surrounding condition, infection, disease, or injury. What do we think the reason for external causes of morbidity are? Let me know. I'm glad you're retaining this information. Yeah, I always feel like in our week 8, all of these codes are gonna kind of be like the random like a bunch. Normally we have, a theme, like we have our pregnancy or our circulatory. These ones are just, I feel, all the random ones. Okay. And I apologize, that QR code was supposed to be for our little survey at the end, but I don't know if it's working or not. So I just took it off the screen if you were wondering what that QR code was. So if you have any questions, as always, if you've been here before, or if you're new, if you have any questions about today's lecture, or if you want to just let us know how the class is going, this is the end of this session. So we're going to be starting up a new session in about 2 weeks. So if you want to let us know so we can make next session even better for you guys, we'll just post, instead of having that QR code, because I'm not sure if that works, we'll just post the link in the chat so you can just access it there. So no worries on that, but I got rid of that so we can focus on our game. And I'm seeing a lot of trues on here, so let's see. This one is indeed going to be true. So yes, like we were just talking about how these codes aren't going to be first listed or anything like that, or a principal diagnosis. This is going to be the definition of the external causes of morbidity. So yes, they're never going to be a diagnosis. They're just describing the circumstance leading to an injury, disease, or infection. So if you got that one right, outstanding job. All right, let's go back to chapter 21. I don't think we've done the 100 yet. Oh, we did. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so sorry. Why is this doing it? And thank you so much, Miss Olga, for posting that survey link in the chat. Okay. True or false? Z codes are not diagnostic and should not be paired with a procedure code if a procedure is performed. So we really got to focus on those Z codes. So are they diagnostic? Are they not? What are we thinking with this one, guys? Let me know in the chat. All right. This one I'm getting a lot of 50-50. So this one is actually going to be false. So this one is going to be false. If you look in the guideline book or the MCG manual, yes, it does say Z codes are diagnostic and must be paired with a procedure code if a procedure is performed. So with that being said, that is going to make this one false. So if you caught that, great job. Z codes are always a little tricky. So if you didn't get that one right, hopefully we learned something. All right, that might have been all of them. Let me just double check. Yep, we did that one. We did that one. I'm not going to click through all of them. I believe that oh, oopsies. Okay, yes, I believe that we did all of those. Okay, so great job. Yes, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a second, and I'm going to move back to our little presentation. So we are now going to move on to some more in-depth scenarios. Actually, I'll just switch right to the Quizlet. So we're going to move on to some in-depth scenarios. So we are going to start with our Quizlet. Oh, actually, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to go to our presentation so we can see what guidelines we were using. I'm being silly. I'm trying to skip ahead. Okay, so I will just go over these super quick. So these are going to be the questions, as always. So this is going to be our chapter 18 and 19 that we were looking at. These are going to be the questions that were asked. These are going to be the answers. And then these are going to be these specific guidelines that were used. And these are all going to be from the MCG manual, but obviously you can also find them in the ICD-10 guideline manual as well. So if you need to look back on this, this is going to be recorded. So I'm just going to kind of go through these, not individually. I'm just going to click through them. So if you need to go back, you can always pause and take your time looking through these. But this is going to be from chapter 20, our external causes of morbidity, our question, our answer, our guideline reference. And then last but not least, this is going to be our chapter 21, our factors influencing health status and contact with health services, our question, our answer, and our guideline reference. So I'm going to move on to our Quizlet now. I got too excited about the Quizlet, I guess. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we are going to move over to more in-depth scenarios. So again, if you're new, we're going to do 3 scenarios and we're going to break it down through keywords, guidelines, and then finally those ICD-10 CM codes. So is it going to start? Ah, it started from the beginning. Quizlet's behaving itself today. Oh, just kidding. It switched to the very end. Whoop. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is going to be our first scenario of the night. So Marvin, a 28-year-old male, was rushed to the ED after being found unconscious. Information from family members indicated the patient left a suicide note and taken a large amount of LSD, a hallucinogenic. So what keywords are we taking out of this scenario in order to find those final codes, in order to find our guideline? What are we thinking? Let me know in the chat and we will go over it in just a sec. All right. If you're still typing, no worries. I know sometimes it's a lot to type out, but these are the ones that I'm focusing on. So yes, found unconscious, the suicide note, the large amount of LSD. So pretty much everyone put that one. Everyone really rocks picking out those keywords. So if you did that, amazing job. Now we are going to be sticking with the same scenario. We're using those keywords and we're going to be looking for that guideline. So this guideline specifically, because I know it's a lot of chapters, this one is specifically going to be from chapter 19. So if you're looking for that one, you can either just let me know the title or let me know the number. To touch on, I think someone said that they were using an AMA manual. So, yes, so the Z codes, that is true. Yes, they are not procedure codes. You would pair them with a procedure code. So that's what would make it. So they're diagnostic. So yes, so they're not procedure codes. You would just have it with a procedure code when the procedure is performed because they are diagnostic. So I hope that made sense. Let me know. But yes, also let me know what that guideline is. I'll give you guys a few seconds with that. Alrighty. So yes, some people were right on the money. So it is going to be indeed. So yes, it's going to be IC19E5B. I think I'm missing the II. So yes, adverse effects, poisoning, underdosing, and toxic effects. The occurrence of drug toxicity is classified as follows: poisoning. So if you got that one, which everyone did, that put it in the chat, amazing job. And now, last but not least, We are going to put together those keywords and we're going to put together that guideline, and we are going to pick some ICD 10 CM codes or code. Let me know in the chat what we're thinking, and then we'll go over to our presentation and we will look at everything all together. All right, if you are still working on this, no big deal. I'm just going to switch over to our PowerPoint presentation so we can see how everything looks all together. All righty. Perfect. Okay, so here is our scenario. I won't go over it again, but definitely the keywords that we're taking out of here are the found unconscious, are the suicide note, and are the large amounts of LSD. And so this is going to be the guideline that we're going to be using from chapter 19. So with the poisoning right here, adverse effects, poisoning, underdosing, and toxic effects. So with that being said, you are going to look obviously for our sequencing column right here on the far right. So it does direct you to first use a category from T36 to T50. So again, you would look at your keywords, you would see the LSD. So you can either go into the table of drugs and chemicals if you want to go through it that way. You can also check in the tabular list as you should, or you can also go in the alphabetic index first instead of the table of drugs, however you want to do it. So you would go there and you would select from the poisoning, intentional self-harm column. And so that directs you to our first code, which is going to be our T408X2. So this is going to be poisoning by LSD, intentional self-harm. Again, this is going to be intentional self-harm because we did look in the keywords and see that there was a suicide note left. So that is why we are going to choose that code with the self-harm. And then if you go up above, it does require you to, and if you look in this red column right here, it is going to direct you to use a 7th character to add from that. And so this is going to be an initial encounter. Because you see that they were rushed to the ED. That was some other keywords that some people put in the chat. So because this is going to be an initial encounter, we are going to be using our 7th character as A. So the whole code is going to be T40.8X2A. And then after that, we're also going to use a manifestation code because that's what it's directing us to do right here, and we definitely can use that. So our next code, or our second code that we're going to be using, is the coma, because that is going to be that's what's going to be happening because of the poisoning. They were found unconscious. So the R40.20 is going to be unconsciousness, not otherwise specified, because that, again, is another keyword that we were taking out of this scenario. And it also requires you to put a manifestation code if there is one. And we don't have substance abuse or dependence that can be applicable for this. So we don't have to use a third code. There's not another one to be used. So these are going to be our two codes we are going to use. I think everyone was pretty much on it with getting the first code. I hope that selecting the second code kind of made a little bit of sense, because again, this is they were unconscious from, the poisoning from the LSD. So that's going to be a manifestation. And so that is why we're going to be using that second code right there. So definitely pay attention to those sequencing and then those codes if they are applicable. So does that make sense? Let me know in the chat. I know everyone was definitely on track. Everyone killed getting that first code for sure. So let me know if the second code made sense. And then we are going to move on to our second scenario. Again, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we're going to move back to our Quizlet. And again, if you have any questions or you would like any detailed explanation, but you don't want to put it in the chat, no big deal at all. As always, just make sure to click on that survey link and you can ask a question. I go over all of them tomorrow, so I'll definitely get back ASAP if you have any questions on these scenarios. Okay, moving on to our second scenario for the night. So Mr. Middleton is coming in for follow-up of a second-degree burn on the left forearm. The provider notes the burn is healing well. He is to come back in 2 weeks for continued care to check up on the healing of the burn. So what keywords are we reporting? And again, thank you so much, Ms. Olga. I know I just randomly throw out the survey, but she definitely does an amazing job with following up with the link in the chat. So thank you so much for putting that in the chat again. So if you need to see it, it is right there again in the chat if you need to ask any questions or let us know how we're doing. But yes, now we are going to focus on our keywords we're taken out of this scenario. I will give you guys a few seconds and then we will go over it. All right, you guys were on it with these keywords. So yes, pretty much everyone put kind of the same thing. So burn is healing, the follow-up, and then the second-degree burn on the left forearm. So yes, everyone put those. So amazing job. And now we are going to move on to our ICD-10 CM guideline that we're going to be reporting. This one's a little bit difficult. Again, it is also from chapter 19. So let me know what your thoughts are. I will give you guys a few seconds with this one. Let me know in the chat. All right, all right. Becky is out here. Shout out Becky is out here killing these guidelines always. So shout out. Yes, this is going to be so we're going to do IC19A. So this is going to be application of seventh character in chapter 19. Again, this one's just a little difficult because it is you're more accurate. So it would be IC19D. So we're going to use a seventh character in chapter 19, and that is why we're using this guideline. Again, I know this one was a little funky, so if you got that right, great job. But now we are going to move on to our final ICD-10 CM code. So with using that guideline, with using those keywords, let me know what code or codes we're thinking for this one. Put it in the chat and we will go over it. Okay, if we're still solving, still put those answers in the chat. We will just move over to our presentation. Alrighty. So this is going to be our second scenario of the night. What we're going to be taking out of here are the keywords burn is healing, are the follow-up, and also the second degree burn on the left forearm. So this is going to be the guideline we're going to be using. It was a really long guideline, so I kind of just took bits and pieces. So yes, so we're going to be specifically focusing on the seventh character because this is going to require an application of a seventh character. So using this guideline, you already kind of are in the process of picking what ICD-10 CM code is reported. So again, we're going to focus specifically on the keyword follow up. So that means that he has already been here originally to have that degree kind of taken care of. So the burn is healing well. Again, he's just coming in for a follow up. So when we do see our code that we're looking for, and when it says the appropriate seventh character is to be added from the category, you have the options initial encounter, subsequent encounter, or sequela. And again, some examples of subsequent care would be like cast change removal, x-ray to check the healing status of a fracture, removal of external or internal fixation device, other aftercare and follow-up visits following the treatment or injury. And so this follow-up would definitely fall into that category of a subsequent encounter. And so that is why we are going to be using the seventh character as D. And so when you look it up, The official code is going to be T22.212, which is going to be burn of second degree of left forearm. And then we are going to add the D seventh character to that. So that's going to be the full code with that one, which a lot of people got. So amazing job if you got that one right. Great job. Great investigative coding. That one was a lot. So if you got that one, shout out to you. Okay, and now we are already on our last scenario of the night. So I'm going to move to our Quizlet one last time so we can take a look at what this scenario is going to be. And we're going to start from the top and we're going to pick those keywords. Okay. And this one's going to be a big one because I feel like, especially when I took my certification exam, there were a not a large number, but a good number of burn um, scenarios that we had to do. So I just feel like it's an important thing to really, be on top of are these burn codes. So, anyways, without further ado, Owen, a 4-year-old, is brought to the burn unit after pulling a hot pot of soup off the stove and spilling it on himself. He sustained 18% second-degree burns on his legs and 20% third-degree burns on his chest and arms. Total body surface area burns is 38%. So I know there are a lot of keywords on here. What are we taking out of this scenario? Let me know. All right, those are some fast typing skills you got going on right there, guys. So, yes. For this one at the very end, because it would be so many codes, I'm just going to focus on the specific burns. But yes, you would focus on the hot pot of soup with the stove, the 4-year-old, definitely. Also, the 18% second degree burns on the legs, the 20% third degree burns on the chest and arms, and then the total body surface being 38%. All right, so now we are going to focus on the specific guideline that we are going to be using for this one. Don't know why, but all of these are going to be from Chapter 19, I guess, tonight. So yes, the guideline is going to be from Chapter 19 just to kind of get you a head start, but let me know in the chat what we're thinking. All right. Everyone is participating amazing and putting those guidelines in there. So yes, you can also use the 6, but I picked IC19D1, which is going to be coding of burns and corrosions, sequencing of burn, and related condition codes. But you can use both of them. So great job. That was a great last participation for this scenario. So great job. So with this one, like I said, there are going to be a lot of codes because you have when there's burns going on, there are a lot of codes. So we're not going to include the external cause code for the accident. So the external cause code would be the hot pot of soup off the stove and spilling it on himself. So we're just going to focus on specifically the burn section of this. So you don't have to focus on putting all of those in the chat. So let me know what we think as far as the codes go with burning, or you can just tell me how you would sequence them if you want to do that. I know that's a lot of code looking up. So just let me know in the chat and then we will go over it. All right, I'm going to move one last time to our PowerPoint and we will see how everything looks. Like Miss Olga says, how everything looks together in a nice coating soup. So we will see how everything looks. Because I feel like mastering these burn codes are definitely important as far as, your certification exam goes. So this is going to be our scenario. What we're taking out of here are going to be the 18% second degree burn on the legs, the 20% third degree burn on the chest and arms, and the total body surface being 38%. This is going to be the guideline we're going to be using. So coatings of burns and corrosions, sequencing of burns and related conditions. So we have this handy dandy sequencing, how we're supposed to be sequencing stuff. So first it says to code any third degree burns, second, code any second degree burns, third, any first degree burns, fourth, EBSA, which I put because I was like, what is that? EBSA or TBSA is going to be the total body surface area. And then fifth is going to be the external cause codes, but I told you guys not to worry about that one because that would be a lot of coding. So yes, so with that, it definitely makes it a lot easier to sequence how we're going to be doing these burns. So at first, and then with all of these, they require a seventh character. So I just included our AD&S seventh character. This is going to be initial encounter for this whole thing. So all the seventh characters we're going to be using are going to be A. So without further ado, we're going to start, like it recommends, with our third degree burns. So we're going to start with code T21.31, and then we're going to again use that A 7th character. So T21.31XA, which is going to be our burn of third degree of the chest wall. So that's going to be our first code. And then we are going to include our other third degree burns, which are going to be of the arms. So we're going to do our T21.391A and our T22.392A. So these are going to be the third degree of multiple sides, right shoulder and upper limb, except wrist and hand. So this is going to be the arms. This is going to be for the right and left arm because it said, again, using our keywords, that it's both arms. So we definitely have to include both of those. And then after that, we're going to move on to our second degree burns. So this is going to include our legs. So we're going to have to code for the right leg and the left leg. So we're going to include T24.291A using the 7th character, and then T24.292A again. And then after that, we have no more degree burns. So we're not going to have we're not going to code any first degree burns because there are no first degree burns. So we're going to move right down to our fourth, which is going to be our total body surface area. And again, if we look at our keywords, the total body surface is going to be the 38%. So with that being said, we are going to code our T31.32, which is going to be the burns involving 30 to 39% of body surface with 20 to 29% third degree burns. And then you would include the external cause code, but again, that would just be super crazy for these scenarios. So we are just going to include those codes. So if you got that one right, or if you took a crack at it, absolutely amazing job. I hope that the explanation made sense. It really is just important to know how you're going to sequence the burns. And then after that, it kind of just takes care of itself. But again, those are super important, especially when you're taking that exam. So definitely a good thing to know. All right. And then with that being said, this is going to be the end of our class. So thank you guys so much. I hope that those explanations helped. If not, I know I said it a million times already, but definitely make sure to fill out that survey. If you have any follow-up questions, I will make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. And just let us know how we're doing with the class. I know there were a little bit of technical difficulties today. I apologize. But yes, because this is going to be our week 8, so we are not going to have any live classes for the next 2 weeks as far as our ICD 10 mastery session. We're not going to have them for 2 weeks, and then we're going to pick back up and we're going to start with week 1. So those general coding guidelines is what we're going to pick back up. So thank you so much to the team. We will make sure that the survey is posted, yes, in the mobile chat for sure. So thank you guys so much for those who have stuck with us from week 1 or any attendees. Thank you guys so much for participating. We love our participation. You guys did absolutely amazing as always, and we hope to see you guys whenever we pick back up. And thank you guys so much for everyone that has participated along the way, and shout out to our wonderful team, Miss Olga and Miss Vina. Really appreciate you guys as always. I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of their Monday night, and I hope to see you guys soon, and thank you so much for coming out. Have a great rest of your night.
4,000 exam passers and free classes at AMCI. Learn to code straight from home or on the road at AMCI. We're on the East Coast, the West Coast. We're all around.